Evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thank you so much for joining us this Thursday evening, October 11th. All eyes tonight on Danville, Kentucky, where the vice presidential debate is just a few hours away. Pressure, it's going to be squarely on Joe Biden and Paul Ryan to make sure there either is or is not a game-changing moment. Let's go now to Kentucky. ABC's Karen Travers, she joins us now with the very latest.
Good evening. It's their only showdown, and tonight here in Kentucky, Vice President Biden and Congressman Paul Ryan both have a lot on the line. Biden wants to stop Mitt Romney's momentum, while Paul Ryan wants to keep it going. Round two, and this time it's the number twos taking center stage. With the race tightening, the showdown between Vice President Biden and Congressman Paul Ryan has taken on even greater significance.
Feel good about it.
Mitt Romney gained some momentum out of last week's presidential debate. Polls show the president still has a slight lead in the key battleground states, but Romney's closed the gap. That makes tonight's debate a potentially pivotal moment. Both Biden and Ryan are well versed in policy issues and very comfortable getting into the specifics, but their styles and their experience on this type of stage couldn't be more different. This is Ryan's first national debate, and one aide admitted the congressman's nervous. Yesterday, he gave a preview of how he'll go after Biden.
What he can't run from is President Obama's indefensible record. They're just offering more of the same.
Biden's expected to be aggressive, more offense than defense. His aide said the VP will fire back at what he'll call Ryan's extreme positions on cutting the federal budget and reforming Medicare. In an exclusive interview with ABC's Diane Sawyer, President Obama offered his advice.
I think Joe just needs to be Joe. Joe understands what it means to scrap and knows what it's like to see his dad lose a job. And when that heart and that story comes out, he's incredibly effective.
Tonight's debate will focus on a wide range of issues, both domestic and foreign policy. Biden and Ryan will be coming in well prepared to highlight their strengths, but they'll also be very prepared to exploit their opponent's weaknesses. Reporting live from Danville, Kentucky, Karen Travers, ABC News. Back to you.
All right, Karen, thank you. Now, if you had home field that this VP debate has got a lot more riding it than normal, you're not alone. For a couple of reasons it's the case. First off, because it comes with just 26 days left before an election, and by every metric out here, this thing could be a toss-up. And also because the narrowness of this, and because of, I would say, so many movable factors right now, where in many ways the candidates, certainly on the Republican side, they're being defined by the day. And do we really even know who's winning or not as we approach debate time with so many poll numbers going in so many different directions? Let's get a check of those numbers, and Andrew, as always, brings them down for us. And Andrew, I know it depends on who you ask here, but I guess the one commonality is it's real close.
Yeah, I've been looking at reports and poll numbers as they've been coming in all day long, Rich, and the easy answer to who's winning the race is the second is to run through a series of numbers and polls, all with different results, which will lead you in all likelihood to the conclusion that we don't know who's winning. So let's go through the numbers. Latest poll average from Real Clear Politics has Romney out to a lead of 1.3 points in the popular vote, but he's still down 21 in the electoral count. Real Clear is just one of several groups that takes poll averages and gauges who's winning and who's not. And among the four groups that we listed here, you get vastly different results. Some have Obama ahead, others have Romney leading, at least when it comes to the popular vote. There's a little more agreement, though not much, when you look at the latest national polls. Of the 8 latest national poll results we've gotten in the last 24 hours, they range from Romney up 3 points to Obama up just under 2. Those 6 of the 8 polls that we're listing here give Romney the lead. But what about the electoral vote? Here's where things get really hard to read. For all of the polls and poll averages, this is the list of all of the sites that I've seen today that have Romney winning the electoral vote. There's nothing there because none of them have Romney winning the electoral vote, at least not yet. And then there are the swing states like Ohio. Some analysts say it's leaning towards Obama. Others call it a toss-up. Only in the last 6 polls of Ohio to come in, none have Mitt Romney winning. Obama's lead in Ohio ranging from 1 to 6 points there. And Virginia, almost universally considered a toss-up state, results ranging from a 5-point Obama lead to a 1-point Romney lead. I don't know if I've made things any clearer here.
Thoroughly confused the audience, Andrew. Thank you very much. All right. Now, 2 bits of reaction to the numbers that Andrew just laid out and to last week's debate, and they come from the commander-in-chief himself. Now, the first one, a sports comparison, pretty apropos given the baseball season, although it's a 7-game format. He references not the best of 5 we're looking at right now, and he made this on the Tom Joyner radio program.
Well, you know, you have a 7-game series. We're up 2-0, and we lose one.
Yeah, but you had the open shot. You didn't take it.
Yeah, but I understand. But, you know, what happens, though, is that when people lose one game,
Yeah.
you know, this is a long haul.
All right. Then he said the following to ABC's Diane Sawyer on what his dip in the polls means going forward.
I think what's important is that the fundamentals of what this race is about haven't changed.
All right, so I want to bring in our panel on this. Former Republican representative from the great state of Connecticut, Rob Simmons, Dominic Carter, political journalist and author, Nick Gorovich, Democratic pollster, senior vice president at the Global Strategy Group, and we've already met Andrew. All right, let's start with the basic question. Nick, I'll start with you. Who is the leader in the clubhouse? The polls, and you live by these numbers, seem to show that the swing states, more states are in play that maybe were before, that were leaning hard left. And on the national number, the thing is a very conflicted electorate right now. President says, though, hey, the metrics, they're still pointing in my direction. Is he more right than wrong?
I think he is right. You know, I think the fundamentals of this race do favor the president. He is up in those swing states. As was pointed out earlier, there is no scenario, there's no expert out there saying that he's winning the Electoral College. That's in large part because, you know, 7 out of every 8 swing state polls seem to have the president ahead. So I think when you look towards tonight's debate, you know, it's still the Romney-Ryan ticket who has to have the better performance because they're playing from behind.
Now, help us out here if there's any standard rules when it's an incumbent, whether it's on the national stage or if you're looking at more of a regional race. Does the tie always go to the incumbent because at the end that conflicted voter has to say, well, I know this one, I may not love him, but I'm not so sure about this one. I'm in the middle, I'll go with the known commodity. Does that more often than not hold true?
Well, it's interesting. For years, there's been an adage in polling that undecided voters go towards the challenger, not the incumbent. But in recent years, in presidential races, that hasn't been the case. And that's in large part because the reason that there's an adage out there that undecideds go to the challenger is because typically challengers are less known than incumbents, and so people, you know, if you're undecided, it's usually because you don't know who the challenger is. In this case, everybody in the country knows who these two guys are. Undecided voters in the latest polls seem to have unfavorable ratings of both candidates. So it's really going to come down to those undecided voters, you know, possibly staying home or possibly deciding between the lesser of two people.
And
they
last
don't
thing
like.
I'll bring in the rest of the table after this is, for me at least, I think there was a consensus after the last debate. Romney won, and people can debate at least about the degree of it, but the swings, Nick, 9 points. And is that more of an indication that there is no core constituencies for both of these guys as deep as we thought with such a narrow undecided, or is it because, as we were talking about last night, we had a debate that we're in this YouTube generation where the latest clip really moves you one way or the other, whether it's a videotape or whether it's a debate or whether it's some, knee-jerk stimuli. Why are the numbers changing so much so fast?
Right. Well, I would argue that the numbers aren't necessarily changing. What's changing is people's enthusiasm. So I think what's happening after the Republican debate is that Republicans are more enthused and they're more likely to take polls and more likely to say they're going to vote. And so Romney's gaining in those national polls. I think if Biden comes through with a strong performance tonight, Obama comes through with a strong performance on Tuesday, you're going to see Democrats re-energize and perhaps take the advantage. So I think it's less about changing preferences as it is changing enthusiasm.
Congressman, do you get the sense, though, I would think from the conservative Republican perspective, it's that, hey, we've got a more motivated base. Turnout's always an issue. Dominic talks about it a lot. Forget about people, what they say they're going to do. Are they going to actually get out there on that Tuesday in November and pull the lever, or in this case, vote however? How much is the base enthused about Romney? Because we've heard this debate throughout the primary that he's not really one of them.
Well, the base was very enthused about Romney's performance in the debate last week. There's no question about it. There's no question he won the debate. Barack Obama himself admits that he flubbed. He didn't do a good job. And that makes tonight's debate among the vice presidents more significant, more important in my view. So now the question is, can kindly old Uncle Joe project a persona that's going to connect to the American people, or is Paul Ryan going to be young, energetic, knowledgeable, respectful?
We're going to talk about those
That's
two guys for the next half hour here or so. Dominic and Andrew, real quickly before I go to break, Who is the leader in the clubhouse tonight? Before the debate starts in Kentucky this evening, who would you say is ahead as we speak?
Tonight, I would have to say it's Mitt Romney, no doubt about it. And the president has an enthusiasm problem. As you pointed out, I don't hear anybody in the base talking about how excited they are to go out and vote for Obama this time around. That's a problem.
I'd say Obama's still ahead, but Romney's got the bases loaded and nobody out, and one base hit.
Yourself with the baseball now.
I really couldn't.
I like
Trust
that.
me,
I like
that's
that.
coming from an Oil fan. We'll talk about that later on tonight here.
That was a
Tie
good
game.
one.
Yes,
It's a tie game.
Base is loaded.
Baseball.
Tie game.
Before
was
they
good.
butcher anymore, I'm going to go to a break here. And remember, be part of our conversation. Go to our Facebook page and Twitter and sound off. Who do you think, real simple, straightforward question this evening, who do you think will do better tonight, Joe Biden or Paul Ryan? And don't forget also, tune in at 9 o'clock. We'll have complete coverage of the vice presidential debate. We'll obviously have the full debate here. And after that 90 minutes, we will have a special half hour following post-game analysis, your chance to sound off. Will not only send us your comments online, but on the phone lines as well. We'll get into those toll-free numbers later on into the show. Okay, our interview with former Governor Jennifer Granholm is coming up next. She's one of the few who called Obama here that he would lose the first debate. We'll see what she says about this time go around. Stay with us.
In Romney's world, the cars get the elevator and the workers get the shaft.